right? Or do you believe it in your heart? And I will really ask you to be really honest, because today we're going to talk about motivation, right? And motivation is something that comes from the heart, tau, right? So there are times kan kita rasa memang I jalankan apa ni, kerja saya dengan sedaya upaya, right? And I think there's a very beautiful Malay word that I think we should anchor, especially because you are lembaga tabung haji, which is ibadah. Ibadah doesn't come from the head, it comes from the heart. In English, the word is vocation. It means a call, right? Kita diminta, right? We've been asked to do something in a particular way, right? So how many of you really like feel kan in your kerja, in HR, memang this is something that, I believe I'm very important. Kepercayaan dekat sini atau kepercayaan dekat sini?
I think it should be both.
So I'm asking you and or question because an end question is the best answer, kan, senang, right? The two. So yes, we'll go into the end. But if you had to choose one, do you really believe in your heart that this is a very important job? HR is crucial for Lembaga Tabung Haji's vision and mission.
Indeed, yes, it is.
Okay, and tell me why.
Me?
Yes.
Teruskan Haji Fahmi, dah terlanjur awak start.
I love your laugh, and if you don't mind, if you can tell me your name.
My name is Mod F. Kamarudin.
Okay.
A brother of Puan Rahayu Kamarudin. No, my name is Fahmi. Call me Fahmi Malar. How are you today?
Fahmi, yes.
Are you doing well?
So
Okay,
tell me, Fahmi, what makes you think HR is critical?
I think if you look at the conventional way, the way how we define human capital or human resources, we are because I keep on saying this, we are the resourceful human organizations. Having said that, without human capital or resource team, like you say, the art will not go far, because we handle some strategic matters about human capital. We do some engagement with humans. We deal money for humans. We deal some activities, development, personal development for humans. So human is a unique creature by God. So I strongly believe that the human capital team, human resource team is extremely to the max important to an organization. Without them or without us, all can still survive, but not up to the level where the human standard would be.
Nice one. It almost sounded like a motivational speech. So thank you very much. Yeah. I mean, brilliant. Because you're able to articulate what you truly believe, right? Because today, while we explore motivation, right, like faith, right? It's a belief that we all need to believe in. Because a lot of times, so when I first got into training, that was 20 years ago, I wanted to become this motivational speaker. Because dulu kan motivational speakers are very like a celebrity status, right? So when I joined the training industry 20 years ago, because I wanted to change lives and all that, one of those greatest lessons for me, 3 months into my training job, I realized I didn't want to become a motivator because I failed badly. I would go into a class after skilling myself and think that, you know what, I can change people, I can change people's mind. And then I realized I was so wrong, because however hard I tried, some people were not moved, right? And that's when, so even now, right, when people say I'm looking for a motivational speaker, my chances of saying no is higher than saying yes, because I takut sangat dah. Right? Because what I have learned is this. My job my role, all right, or my vocation is to create experiences with the talent God has given me. If you connect, then you might be motivated. If you don't connect, you may not be motivated. And it's not solely my job. Now, why am I saying this? I must say that I may not be a Muslim, but I'm a very proud Malaysian, and Tabung Haji is very special in my heart. So, a bit about my background. Yeah, I think Malaysia is beautiful because we still believe in God, right? And that's why it's important. So, a bit of background. So, I use Malay terms because I am translating, but at the same time, I'm also aware that I'm using it as a language, not from the context of religion. So if I use any words wrongly, please correct me immediately. Do we have that agreement? Yeah. So parts of what I have learned is I come from the family of two, my brother and my brother is a Muslim. So a lot of the language that I have learned is to understand my brother's faith, right? Because my brother is very, very important to me, and he's a very, very faithful Muslim. And you know, when we kena kutuk, when my brother converted, there was a lot of kutukan from our society community, right? And at some point, as his sister, I had to decide whether it was important for me that he's a good human or whether he stays the way he was born. And I decided that it's important for me that he's a good human. And I know that when my brother embraced Islam, he became the most respectable human in my eyes. Right. Now, why is that important for me? I will say, because I do come from, I grew up in a rumah tinggal, right? And there was a lot of, we grew up among drug addicts and alcoholism. Right? My dad was an alcoholic. One of the greatest fear you hold when you grow up, and I know my mother held this fear, is she was so afraid my brother would get into drugs and alcohol. So she was very, very protective. For the girls, we don't get into alcohol, but we usually get pregnant by the time we are 15. That was the trend in rumah tinggal. I think it is still the same, right? And so when my brother actually converted, it was a very, very difficult decision for the whole family, right? And that's when I had to decide, because my brother and I were very close, right? I had to decide which one is more important for me, to see my brother as a person, what is important for him, or the way I wanted him to be. All right. And I'm glad to say, for the first few years, we were apart because I think my brother felt that we didn't understand him, kita tak faham dia lah, right? And everything we say, it would trigger him. And that's when I started learning about what Islam means to him and what Islam means to me and find a bridge. All right. And the bridge is important because my brother is important. What has it done to me over the last 20 years? I think I've become a better human, learning how to embrace everybody. And specifically, I think I'm a very proud Malaysian, all right? And I think you are doing a great job. And I want to say this to you. I work a lot with B40, all right? When I work with B40 students, the beauty about B40 students is this, right? A lot of them, because they come from poor backgrounds, kan? So selalunya when they first start the orientation and I'm inside the program, I will ask them, okay, tell me, what are you going to do now that you've got a job? What is one dream that you hold? Almost every Muslim B40 student will tell me, it's my dream to send my parents for Hajj. Now, why am I sharing this with you? Because you're holding the dreams of a lot of Malaysians. And that's why you're the heartbeat. Because I know when a child says, that's my dream for my parents, you know how much the faith drives them to live their life well. And I think you represent that faith, right? Yeah, because we are looking at you, and I'm saying this as a non-Muslim, right? The thing about people is this, kan? When you do the right things, people may not call you a good Muslim. But when an action is wrong, people are very quick to point at you and say that this person was a Muslim and this person did it. So you are the ambassador. And you can be a very powerful source of change to the country. All right? And everything starts with HR. And that's why really I am very, very grateful that I have this opportunity to be able to meet you. Right? And I think just accepting me into this space for me tells me about the culture in Lembaga Tabung Haji, right or wrong. Right? So with that, we need to now start talking about what is really motivasi. Bila kita cakap motivasi, right? Right. So if I asked you motivation, what's your motivation level 1 to 10? And really be totally honest. Right now, if I ask you, how do you feel? Are you excited about life? Bukan about program. I tak berani tanya lagi. Right? But if you think about, right, you wake up, we are in total lockdown. We've been through a lot as a country. All right? And if you are listening to the news, if you're listening to the bullying that's happening between Israel and Palestine, all of this hurts you, yeah, because it's part of our identity. You wake up to this every day, and you have to deal with it, right? So if I ask you emotionally, how motivated are you about life, excited about life, driven about life, right? 1 to 10, what would your number be? Okay, you can put it on chat and Ryan will read it to me.
I think it's good if we can have a very good understanding apakah dia level motivasi.
Pada masa ni ya. Perasaan ya.
Yeah.
So you wake up this morning, all of this news is hitting you, people are dying, you hear the ambulance, you wake up. If you have children, you see your children. Like for me, my children, when I see them on the computer, my stress level goes up. Right? Because I don't know what they are reading or watching, right? And I have work to do, right? So there's so much going on for us, sharing the same space. Sometimes, looking at how your children are struggling and you not being able to be there. It's a lot going on. So tell me, 1 to 10, how you feel.
Siapa nak cakap ataupun
Tak apa, letak dalam chat sahaja. Just see the numbers and read for me the numbers. I don't need to know.
Saya tak nampak chat.
Tak nampak ya? Siapa yang nampak chat?
Tak ada.
Tak nampak chat.
Sini tak ada chat. Sini tak boleh chat.
Tadi
Dia
tapi
suruh
tak ada.
turut je.
Kena cakap ni.
Okay.
Sebab
Maknanya
nama program
kita
Chit.
ditakdirkan bercakap. Okay, so tell me, what's your number?
Saya cuba jawab malah.
Yeah.
Kalau dekat pandangan saya setakat ni mungkin 8 7 kot. 7 8 lah macam tu.
Okay, very good. 7-8 is very good already. Fazlina, how about you?
Anxious with the situation, keadaan COVID sekarang kan, and the new arrangement of working semalam was the first day, and meeting semua we had like back to back. Maybe between 6 to 7.
Nice, thank you. Sharul, Azam?
Semalam, kalau ikut semalam, saya bangun pagi 7-8. Tetapi hari ni bila saya bangun pagi, saya dengar berita pesawat pejuang Malaysia, China dah masuk ruang udara Malaysia. So saya jadi demoralize sikit, turun kepada 4-5.
Oh my God, I didn't read that, so it has.
Sebab sekarang ni isu hari ni Malaysia tengah ni isu ada 16 pesawat pejuang China memasuki ruang udara kita.
Oh.
Saya tak sangka Ustaz risau pasal Chit tu. Alhamdulillah, subhanallah.
Ini isu negara.
Yeah. Thank you. Sebab I didn't know really. I mean, I think that is quite alarming, menakutkan.
Tapi saya nak dengar apa pandangan Hasrul lah. Hasrul Nizam, Tuan Hasrul Nizam kita.
Dia batik lain sikit
Pakai
Melayu.
batik.
Ya. Batik biasa lain.
So semalam, hari ni alhamdulillah, insyaAllah, bagi berita apa, saya cuma rasa blessed. So I put my rating 7.
Thank you. So whatever your rating is, right, if you think about it, it's what you're feeling. Yang penting, we need to stay honest with ourselves. So I'll always ask you this, when you wake up in the morning, right, and whatever your rating is, it doesn't mean low rating is bad, right? Low rating means kita kena anchor lebih lagi lah, right? And one of the easiest way is to actually bersyukur. Because when our anxiety is high now, memang, right? Every time I hear ambulance, my stomach will start churning, right? And it's a natural reaction because we are worried. We have too much of information. But we still need to deal with that, right? We can't run away from it, all right? And so whatever your number is, then what you want to do is you want to ask yourself how you're going to calm down. How do you relax yourself? Because kalau we are not relaxed, we are not able to think properly. So, and that's the part that sometimes we don't, we underestimate the power of our emotion in taking over. Are you with me? Now, I want to just share one information with you, which is scientific, which I didn't plan to earlier, right? And so there was this book that I read called Purpose, and I'll share that book with you afterwards, right? And they did a study as to what is purpose. So for those who are vocation driven, that means bila dia jalankan sesuatu sebagai ibadah, kita panggil purpose lah ya. It means kita buat sesuatu kerana itu adalah panggilan kita, right? And what they did, so they did a research over people of different religion, different levels of spirituality. So they took across, right? And all across, one part of the brain became activated. So with the Muslim community, right, they actually connected the brain waves to the concept of jihad, right? So, and because jihad is very powerful, right? And so do you know which part of the brain gets activated when you're purpose driven? Because would I be correct in saying jihad would probably be the highest level of commitment, right, to your faith, right? So not the way people abuse it, right? But let's just look at the concept, right? So they actually interviewed people who say, I would die, right, to stand for my faith. Do you know which part of the brain was activated? Take a good guess. Guess.
Amygdala.
So that's what I thought because I'm an emotional intelligence trainer, this part.
Oh, okay.
Very often in the Indian ancient thinking, this is known as the third eye, right? Yeah. And so what was, right in between. So this is where our focal point for decision making is. And I think what is really also interesting, now this one, I don't have science to prove it. You know, if you look at people who pray a lot, when you realize that you are touching your forehead on the ground, which is activating that part of your brain. So when I finish my research, I will definitely share it, but I'm very sure. So if you look at wisdom, so every act activates parts of your brain. And that's totally from a scientific perspective, right? Now, why is this important? I'm saying this because if we want to be purpose-driven, we need to know how to use this part of our brain. And even spirituality and religion activates this part. All right? And that's the thing I really wanted to share with you, to know that we need to know how to do this. And for us to operate from this part of the brain, and this is not being logical, this is being wise. right? This part of the brain can only operate, can lead us if we stay calm. And to stay calm when so many things are going wrong needs a lot of practice. Yeah, all the more reason, we need to have regular breaks. And if it's faith breaks, fantastic. Because what you're doing is that you're taking a break to really calm down and anchor yourself. And, when we believe in God, it becomes easier because we're saying, God, I surrender, you look after me, right?
Mala, is there any activity that we can do untuk to be intentionally taking the breaks? Because sometimes kalau saya nak take break tu, tapi phone bunyi kita pergi juga attend to the phone.
Yeah. I mean, it's a matter of discipline. So I will tell you, there was this lady who gave me my, so I had a client in TNB. I don't know whether you know her, Puan Khalida Harun. Anyone know? Yeah, lovely. Okay, so this is a real story. So I had met Puan Khalida Harun, and I was telling her at the time, I was having difficulty with my brother, and she handed me a Quran in Bahasa. And so one of those things that she told me, and I remember very well, she said, and she told me, she said, your brother has just converted, so just give him a bit of time to settle down. And she said, because you want to be a good sister, I'm going to give you this. And she gave it to me. And one of the things that she told me was this, right? She told me, she said, do you know why we Muslims pray 5 times? I said, I don't know. Because God is reminding us to pause, to take stock. And that's an amazing way to take a break, right? It's an amazing way. It's an underestimated way, yeah? Right? And and if you look at the rituals that is involved, right? The rituals that you do makes you focus on the present. Betul tak? You need to make sure you're clean. You need to make sure you cut away from the worldly thoughts. Betul tak? Right? So if you look, we already have rituals that will make us work. So if we do that well, I think it's fantastic. Okay. In fact, one of the challenges often in the corporate world, right? When our Muslim friends go to pray, I know some of us make fun of it. Yalah, betul ke tu, right? And one of those things I say is that, you know what? We should make this Malaysian and say, anyone who has a faith has a right to pray during these times. Right? Then, you won't have the non-Muslims complaining, but make sure you're praying lah, right? Not going for a tea break. Because it is a natural way, I'm sure God knew that we need to take a break. And this rituals makes us focus. So number one. So I think you already have it in your system. You just have to follow your system. Right? Number one. Number two, for me, what works is this, right? If I want to cut away from a habit, especially social media, I'm an entrepreneur and social media is very important, right? And where do I take a break? So what I do is I give myself time, right? So this is the time I'm going to do this. Now, one easy way, and execution is up to you, right? Set timers. Set timers to say that this is how much you will do. This is the timing that you will work on. And that's important. So if you're working 8 hours for your organization, give your best 8 hours. One of my cikgu in training, right? When I joined training, I don't know whether you know this guy. Amazing speaker. His name is Fuad Abdul Rahman, right? Tuan Haji Fuad Abdul Rahman, right? And so one of those things that he told me is this, right? And it's a very big concept. Even before I understood or appreciated the concept of rizki and halal. What I need to do during my 8 hours determines how clean my money is, because this is the money I earn to feed my family. I think we underestimate the concept of halal to just food. right? And I learned that because when I first got into training, I was helping him because I was his student, right? And then I was helping him every weekend because dia tolong I lah kan. Dia, you know, he was really my cikgu to say, okay Malakam, I ajar you, you buat lah. Kan dia kata, you buat lah, you buat setengah jam, 1 jam dan sebagainya. And after a couple of months, I cannot remember, he suddenly gave me money. Now this was during the crisis tau. I said, kenapa Fuad you bagi I said, you know, I'm just very happy you allow me to help you because there were many trainers. No one gave me opportunity but Fuad did. And I was just grateful because nobody does that for you, yeah? Right? But he did it for me. Then after a couple of months, so he'll give me half an hour slot, 1 hour slot. Then after a while, we started co-facilitating. We started doing 50-50. That means I'm getting better, lah, right? And when I got to a point where he thought I was his equal in terms of content, I was never his equal because he was 15 years ahead of me. And then he said, hey, he gave me a check. He said, this is your earning. I said, what kenapa ni tak, you know, cannot lah, you know, you've already given me so much. He said, no, you worked. You earned it. I cannot keep what is yours. All right? And I took back a life lesson from that. I think it's easy for people to talk, but when you see someone practicing it and telling you the impact, my God, it's great. Now, what I learned from him is to treat everybody right. And to know that my own rezeki is not my effort alone. Right? And that's an absolute lesson because it keeps me, I mean, I'm a speaker, right? And when I do a good job, I feel like a celebrity because people say, oh, Malar, you were so good. Of course, I feel good. I'm human, can. It's feeding my ego. But I do know that for me to be as good, I didn't get here alone. A lot of people need to do their part for me to be here, to be where I am. But beyond that, I have higher powers looking after me. Because I can do the same job and get different results. Right? And I think that's the power in the belief that we do. So what can you do for a break at this point? Now, as an organization, so let's talk about HR as an organization, really, because you are the heartbeat, right? As an organization, let's talk about you're critical right now, kan? Because you can shape LTH in a way it has never been before. That's my belief. Because you're very this is the time kita boleh relax sikit lah. You're not running from one to another, even though you're having Zoom meetings, right? And this is going to be the new ultimate way of working anyway. And this is where we can take a break and shape the community in Lembaga Tabung Haji. All right? So if you think about what COVID has done for us, okay, let's talk about motivation, how COVID has motivated you. Apakah perubahan yang kita telah lakukan dalam masa 1 tahun ni yang membawa kebaikan kepada diri kita sebagai manusia? Let's think about perubahan yang kita dah buat lah, right? In the last 1 year, ada benda yang kita buat mungkin is not fantastic for us because our circumstances are different. But let's focus on apakah perubahan yang anda telah lakukan sebagai seorang individu yang adalah baik untuk diri anda. So let's talk about habits. So I'm going to just start with one to get the ball rolling. I've always wanted to exercise, right? I have 3 kids. My eldest is 17. And then I have a set of twins who are 11. So after the twins arrive, really, I always say tak ada masa nak exercise, right? And my my energy levels have not been very good. Now, come COVID, I am walking 10,000 steps regularly. And I feel so good. I feel so good. Physically, I'm feeling good. So it's a major life change for me because in the past, I will use that 1 hour to do work. Right? I am praying more regularly. Takut kan? If doctor cannot help, only God can help, right? Yeah. So what are you doing differently that you know that these are things yang kita tahu sebelum ni kita kena buat tapi tak buat kan? Tapi kadang-kadang terpaksa kita buat dan kita tahu ini membawa kebaikan kepada kita. So apakah tabiat-tabiat baru anda, satu atau dua, dalam masa 1 tahun ni yang membawa kebaikan kepada anda sebagai seorang manusia? You can put up your hand if your video is on or just speak.
Hi, good morning.
Allah, baru nak try.
Assalamualaikum.
Lepas ni Encik Nizam, yes.
Okay, I'm Aisha.
Hi Aisyah.
I think the best decision I made for the year would be sleeping on time.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Because I think sometimes the stress and then the hectic of the day memang buat saya susah nak tidur lah. So I've tried to discipline myself. Sometimes terbabas juga. Macam semalam, I was overexcited, so I slept late. Ponfas can be the orang yang tahu yang semalam saya tidur lewat. So, but most of the time, I will try to sleep on time, at least 6 to 7 hours a day. So when I wake up, I'll be more fresh, and then definitely saya punya cakap mood tu kan, mood nak bekerja tu, motivation tu tak adalah macam angry kan, macam semuanya ada masalah dengan saya, padahal yang bermasalah tu saya seorang je. So that's my itulah.
I love you, Aisha. I think you're so courageous to speak the way you speak. So Aisha, let's stick to the sleep, right?
Yeah.
So tell me, what was the difference that you got to now learn how to get enough sleep? What changed you before this? You know, tapi tak buat kan? Because we get distracted, right? And what is that major decision you made to make that shift?
I think it was my current status of health. I had to take medication because I have hypertension. So one of the reason would be not sleeping well. So yang tu main lah, sebab most of the time memang tidur lewat, bangun awal, then stress buat kerja, probably my BP go up. So
No,
that's
fantastic.
Yeah.
And you know, looking after the body that God has given us is really very important.
Yes. So that's a sign for me to stop and take care of myself.
Nice.
Whatever happens, I have to sleep.
Good. So you are getting good night sleep now?
Yes, but yesterday I slept a little bit late. Hopefully I'll check out kodok kan besok.
No worries. So I think the awareness is really important because
Yeah.
I think one of the trade we right now make is we trade the right things for success. And success is material. If I spend 1 more hour doing work, I think I can finish it. Right? And but we all know scientifically that it doesn't work that way. So quick one, if you sleep, how does sleep help you with your motivation? Bila kita tidur, what happens in our body is your body gets to detox. Your body gets to detox, your brain gets to reorganize. So you're automating your updating of your system, right? And when you don't sleep enough, that's what happens. And what science is saying now, you must sleep between 11 to 3. That means 11 to 3 is when your whole body is detoxing. So a lot of our illnesses is because we now have this trend of sleeping late. So walaupun you tidur pukul 2 dan bangun pukul, I don't know lah, 8 ke 9, it's not good. Maybe that's why, you know, the first thing you wake up to is sembahyang subuh lah. Because you're supposed to wake up early, right?
Yeah.
To wake up early, you need to sleep early.
Yep.
A lot of this religious stuff is quite scientific. Yeah. So thank you. And I know Encik Nizam, I think, had put up his hand because he was waiting to speak, you know, with his batik shirt. Okay, dipersilakan.
Okay, the changes in habits lah. Sebab of pandemic COVID-19 punya pandemic. So saya ambil daripada last year Puan Mala. macam all this while saya been separate daripada family, maknanya PJJ lah for 6 years. So every weekend baru spend time together kalau free. Kalau tak free memang saya dekat Kemaman 3 tahun, dekat Keluang 3 tahun, my family dekat sini. So one of the blessing things happen, and then sebab masa COVID-19 last year yang kita full lock, rezeki, my family was with me. Kita orang tengah so seorang kita buat kerja, so macam kita try to perform and being productivity to the organisation and of course beribadah. And then suddenly my wife decided macam masa tu dah nak dekat COVID, dah ada simptom macam budak-budak tak pergi sekolah, and then alhamdulillah my wife can work from home. Dia dah start lama dah dulu. Dia memang online saja. So dia decided baik dia buat kerja dia dekat dengan saya lah, dekat Keluang. So kids pun tak boleh pergi sekolah, dia bawa. So bila dia bawa, kita orang stay, and then the Friday PM announce lockdown. So macam everybody, kawan-kawan yang close tu tanya, Hasrul kesiannya you sorang-sorang lockdown dekat sini. Tapi dia tak tahu rupanya I have full complete of my family lah. So what was it macam apa yang nak cerita kat sini, bila being together with the family, macam mostly kita dengar orang komplain kata how to handle anak, nak masak, nak ni, memanglah I tak masak tak apa sebab dalam COVID. Tapi saya feel very blessed sebab semuanya dekat dengan saya while I can do my job. So being macam kita align lah, kita yelah macam tengah meeting macam ni, kadang dia cakap ayah buat apa, ayah tengah meeting So macam distracted lah, tapi the feel being together, maknanya tak separate tu macam itu very high lah. So whole the year, and then dapat jadi macam being in the lockdown tu, how kita manage try to be productive, kita tak nak khianat pada organisation, and at the same time you have moment, memanglah bukan moment macam pergi jalan dengan main-main dengan anak, tapi they are around you, beside you. So macam anything kan, dia nak makan, ayah nak makan, ayah dia bawa coklat nah. So that moment very in it for me lah. So itu yang macam okay, I really appreciate that. That's the blessing things, one of the blessing things because of the COVID-19 to me lah. And then about beribadah and solat, sebab for the first time in my life I have to be the imam for solat tarawih, second time lah, the whole complete month. 1 month complete I jadi imam tarawih, and then I jadi imam sembahyang hari raya. Dan this year pun seems like alhamdulillah lah, I managed to bring along. So I think that's a new culture lah. Sebab before this, kalau 6 years and before tu kita ada ngelat, and then sometimes in the journey I tak boleh nak complete sembahyang tarawih and ini. Tapi because of the pandemic, I managed to get full. And then besides being with the family all this year, sembahyang selalu lewat. Kita tak on time. Kita tak take a break. Bila azan take a break, kita tak take a break. Kita still continue on our work. Tapi because of the pandemic, and then the kids also with me, so kita utilize, kita leverage. Masuk azan je semua kena sembahyang jemaah. So again, kita on time lah. Kan? So ibadah, difference macam dia effect mana culture tu sebelum ni kita dah get used to it, macam delay solat. Tapi bila dah 1 month complete on time, bila kita and then berjemaah, and then sekali lockdown really uplift, kita pergi office kita dah macam dah termiss kita nak sembahyang berjemaah and on time tu, sebab with the kita kena ongoing sini kan. So itu yang feel tu lah, dia punya changes of habit yang alhamdulillah. And then the last one, Puan Mala, sorry I take time so long. Saya dah start jogging lah, sebab kalau dulu gemuk kan, sekarang pun gemuk juga, tapi macam kita manage to reduce 9 kilo je lah, tak banyak lah, 9 kilo je. Bye-bye Fahmi, that's from me. Thank you.
Thank you Hasrul, right? Hasrul Mirza. I loved what you shared, and I think you've brought about something really important for us to discuss, right? In your situation, dalam situasi yang you share tadi kan, I think one of those things that's happening with COVID, for some people is good, for some people it's bad. It is actually forcing families to come together. If you think about it, families have come together. And if you think about it from the examples that you're giving now, right, kan? See, when we are at work, anak-anak kita ni kan, dia tak tahu cara hidup kita. Macam mana kita, that if you look at, I don't know, depending on our background kan, when we learn a lot from watching our parents, what they do right and what they can do better. Tapi anak-anak kita susah nasuh dia because we are at work, they don't know what's our work. All they know is that, oh, mommy dresses up very nicely, takes the car, pergi kerja glamour je. Right? Dia tak tahu, and I don't know whether you agree, a lot of young kids today don't know how to bersyukur for what they have.
Yes.
Yeah, because they look at the parents, it's not hard work. Sebab nampak glamour kan semua. Right, pertama. Kedua, they don't see our struggles. Right? Now, like what you said, you know, like when it's time to pray and when you pray, can you imagine, it's a golden opportunity to set a culture in the family. Right? Yeah, and for your children to actually watch you and see how you're working, what you're struggling with, what is your stress levels like. Walaupun kerja nampak senang kan, duduk je pakai baju batik, handsome kan. Walaupun nampak senang, tapi dia akan belajar daripada kita, kesukaran kita, macam mana kita buat decision dan choices. Right? And you, and you know, I love the story where you talk about, you know, your kid brings you chocolate. Because your kid is learning how to show you care. Right? There's so much happening kalau kita allow it, like it's really bringing the families back. Now, why am I saying this, right? We want to look at again in HR, right? We know this is a good place because bila kita ada distraction macam ni, kita faham how we can get distracted away from work. And know that it is okay. But how do we help our people deal with it? Because that's where the heartbeat of HR is going to be. Instead of kita kutuk dia, kita embrace benda-benda ni, kita kata macam mana kita nak gunakan peluang ini untuk membawa kebaikan kepada diri kita, keluarga kita dan juga kerjaya kita. Right? Because you see, those days, work and life was separate. Today, I think if you ask, life is correct out. Work and life cannot be separate. They are part of each other. I think that's the part we have missed out in corporatization. A good human will always make a good employee. A good employee, all right, a great employee may not be a great human. Right? So if you think about good workers, people who are productive at work, among you punya kawan-kawan kan, do you know a good worker who is not a good person? Right? Yeah. So and that's really important untuk kita fikirkan what should we focus on in terms of whether we are recruiting people, whether we are giving them work, whether we are trying to motivate them. All right, whatever we do in HR, this is where it's critical to look for good human beings, which is why LTH values are very important. Nilai-nilai murni kita sangat penting, right? So I'm just going to share some slides. So is there anyone else who wants to share anything? Right, so one takeaway, if you can write it down, is, think about apakah perubahan positif yang kita telah buat dalam hidup kita yang kita nak kekalkan. And what I want us to think about as you write this down is later, kita nak faham motivasi kita. Apakah yang memberikan kita motivasi ini untuk membuat perubahan? Sebab sebelum ni kita tahu benda ni baik, betul tak? Tapi tak ada motivasi. Right? Kalau kita faham macam mana kita buat perubahan dalam diri kita, apakah yang akan memberikan motivasi ataupun energi kepada kita, kita akan faham rakan-rakan kerja kita dekat tabung haji yang tak nak buat perubahan. Yang perlu kita buat untuk visi dan misi lembaga tabung haji. Ini bukan sebab it's nice to hear, but that's what we are called to do, right? And for you in lembaga tabung haji, your pahala is very high lah because you are in lembaga tabung haji, right? But if you don't do, I also think it's not very nice lah, scary, right? Yeah. So and that's what I want to remind you, right? And with that, I'm just going to share slides with you. Let me see. And let's just look at, because we can't do what we call chat, so I'm going to take you through, and then please write it down so that we can actually discuss it, right? Can you see my screen? Nampak tak I punya?
Belum lagi malah.
Belum lagi. Okay, I try. Can see?
No, not yet.
No,
Oh,
now?
yes. Okay, now. Yes.
Okay, good. So, so if you look at today, we are looking at, so what is motivation? Ini lambat sikit. The way we are wired. So, what is motivation? Motivation is actually our drive within tau. Apakah fuel kita kat dalam yang memberi kita tenaga, alright? So what you give your energy to gets life, right? Kita memberi kehidupan kepada apa-apa yang kita bagi tenaga kita. So if you give your attention and your energy to say jogging macam tadi kan, so that's what you're motivated. So we want to know why we are wired that way, and kita nak faham how do we actually come into this behavior. First, we understand ourselves, right? And that's what we're going to do. Now, let me just show you this. So motivation is really what keeps you going, yeah? So if you think about perubahan-perubahan yang kita rasa sukar nak buat sebelum ni, tetapi kita boleh buat perubahan sekarang, we say kita ada motivasi, right? Because motivation actually comes from the word move plus action. That means we move, kita bergerak terhadap aksi, terhadap sesuatu kelakuan. So, very simply, I look at motivation macam bateri lah. Bateri kita full ataupun kosong. So, kalau bateri kita full, kita tahu kita boleh lari kan, kita boleh gunakan tenaga kita ataupun bateri kita untuk mengambil tindakan yang kita rasa penting. Tetapi kadang-kadang kita fikir benda tu penting tapi kita tidak melakukannya sebab tak ada tenaga. So at a mental level, you know you need to do it. I mean, we all know we need to sleep early, we need to exercise, we want to spend time with our children, tapi tak larat, right? So pertamanya kita kena fikir macam mana to keep your energy charged. Pertama ya, you have to do this first because it's a physical thing to do things, and then you need to know which direction you're moving, right? And that's what we're going to discuss. So we give life to whatever we give our energy to. So if you look at the perubahan yang you sudah buat ke, belum buat ke, now you need to ask yourself, perubahan yang kita nak dalam hidup kita, are they important? And do I want to use my battery for that is the question. And this question only you can answer, yeah? Right? Now, I think all of us can relate to the superhero, kan? All of this time we celebrated CEOs, CFOs, orang-orang yang berpangkat tinggi, right? But right now, I think every day we should be both celebrating and praying for our frontliners, especially those who are in the medical industry. Now, I have a friend, from the time her son was young, he wanted to become a doctor. And I think, was it yesterday? Today's Tuesday. Yeah. Yesterday I was talking to her and she told me, Mother, I'm really very sad. I said, why? Because my son who's 29 has started vaping. And before this, he never smoked. And she sat down and spoke to the son and said, why are you doing this? And he said he cannot take the stress anymore because he's 29, fairly new. Tapi dia kena buat keputusan siapa yang dapat ICU bed dan siapa yang tak akan dapat ICU bed. And it's stressing him up because he's trying to play God. He said, how do I decide, Ma, who lives? Because when I don't give them the bed, I know I'm letting them go. right? So our superheroes have changed. And if you think about these superheroes, right, medically, right, I want to just, pause here for a while and say, right, I know we are all grateful to these superheroes, betul? Kita tengok posting dan sebagainya. But my question is very much how we will treat them post-COVID. Because sekarang, easy to celebrate them, right? But how we treat them, how we pay them, does it matter to us they get well paid? Does it matter to us that, they get enough rest?
Malah, sorry, screen, kita nampak screen dalam screen.
Oh,
Do I
okay.
explain myself correctly?
Okay, I'm not too sure what you see. Okay, so do you see only the slide now?
Now slide only. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Can I? Okay, keep telling me. All right, so I think our question is now very much, we want to look at the heroes. And right now, as I talk about them, I want to just ask you whether your job is that of a superhero. In Lembaga Tabung Haji.
Yes, of course.
How? Right? So imagine a nurse who is a mother. So I know my cousin sister, she got 3 children, 2 of them are doctors. And she said every morning when she sends them to work, she will kiss them, right? And she will pray for them that they are safe. And she said the whole day is anxiety because they are, for some reason, all my friends' children are in the COVID wards. I think because they're new doctors, right? And she said, sometimes I wonder why I made them doctors, right? Now, so these are people who wake up every day to jalankan ibadah mereka. Bukan mereka suka. I don't think if they have a choice, they want to go there, right? Yeah. Some people may have quit, but that's not the point. So right now, I want you to begin to just write down somewhere. How are you and your role in Lembaga Tabung Haji being a hero to the people you are serving? Because one day we can wake up, suka kerja kita. One day memang tak suka, tak apa. Kita manusia biasa. Tapi suka tak suka, kita perlu jalankan kerja kita secara terbaik yang kita boleh. I think that's the difference. It's not that when I'm happy, I do a good job. When I'm not happy, I don't do a good job. Correct? Because happy or not happy, I get paid. Happy or not happy, I feed my children with that money, right? So I think the context is not happiness. The context is what will make me do a good job when I don't feel like it. That is being beyond human. Right? Because being human means kita ikut hati kita lah. Right? All right? So, as you think about that, now, one question to ask, and I need you to just quickly write this down because we're not in, Ryan, boleh tengok kan I punya slide?
Boleh, boleh.
Okay, so 2 things ya. Macam mana kita nak tahu apakah nilai murni kita ataupun apakah motivasi kita ya. Think of one action you invest your time or money in. Okay, so no need to tell your partner, okay? So I want you to just write it down. So I want you to think about, when you think about your own, you think about money. Money is a great motivator because money is in exchange of all the things we want in life. So money is not bad. Money is good. So just write down. It's personal. Just write down. When you dapat gaji you kan, macam mana anda menggunakan gaji anda? Macam mana anda agihkan gaji anda? So what do you pay for? food, shelter, ada kan? Rumah, kereta, apa lagi? Makanan. So write it down, insurance. Okay, can you just write it down? And as you write down, selain daripada, so let's look at the basic things I'm going to write, right? So there's food, there is, you pay for insurance. Do you pay for insurance? Do you? Okay, food, shelter, insurance, ada apa lagi? Makanan? Okay, what else do you pay for? Just shout out things that you can share.
Kids activities like music class, art class.
Okay, so activities, this is interesting, right? So I want to differentiate music and art dengan tuition. Boleh? Just for discussion, untuk kita faham apakah motivasi kita, ya. So art class and say academic, that's tuition, ya. Kita kumpulkanlah. What else do you spend your money on?
Toys.
Toys, nice. Some more? Okay, so I have food, shelter, and whatever not. So if you think about this, right, let's take the children's activities. So kita bahagikan ini, kita gunakan duit untuk tuition, kita gunakan duit untuk katalah music class, right? Or even kelas mengaji, right? You can take 3, right? So when you send your children for tuition, what is the value? Apakah nilai yang mendorong kita untuk menggunakan duit kita untuk tuition? Apakah nilai murni ini dipanggil?
To support them to be better in the future.
So what, for what? What is the value in it? Is it family? Is it success? Is it career? What is it?
Success to become better people.
So, okay, I'm going to challenge you a little bit, right? When we send our children for tuition, are we looking at character building? Or are we looking at academic qualification, how to pass your exam?
Academic.
So even in exam, right? So and I want us to think, right? Because even when we send our children for tuition, are we sending our children supaya dia dapat foundation yang baik, ataupun kita hantar dia kepada guru-guru yang akan cakap mesti dapat A, sebab dia akan ajar teknik peperiksaan.
Mesti dapat A, tapi tu my wife lah, not me.
Yeah, but you know, some of the cikgu tuition now comes by recommendation. Contoh, most of the students are A, so kita macam like we put this tuition teacher at a certain premier lah, cikgu ni premier. And then certain cikgu ni pula they say kita ni buat latihan to be, you know, there are different tiers and different ways how they or some other parents would have marketed for that particular teacher. So dia kata macam, okay, cikgu ni is very good in science. Anak-anak kita yang pergi sini, you know, you go to them, majority of them score A's. So kita kata, oh, next time bila kita ada anak kita form 3, kita will send to this particular teacher because he teaches science, anak-anak students dia semua A.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. See, that this is branding. This is marketing. The decision is made by us. And the decision we make tells us what is important for us. But whatever is important for us, is it good for our children? I think there is no right answer, but I want us to think about it. Right? Someone is selling us A's. Betul lah. Siapa tak nak A? I pun nak I dapat A. Betul. I nak. Who doesn't want? Betul? We all want it. But when we send our children for these type of tuition, and they will get A's, right? Because it's marketing and they're selling you the right thing. Because we have bought into success equals to 8. Now, think about the value that is driving the 8. Is it ilmu? Or is it just results? Skim cepat kaya macam tu lah. Right? And I'm not here to say what is right, what is wrong, but I want us to pay a bit more attention to the type of decisions we are making, which is going to impact the future. Kalau kita tunjukkan dekat anak kita, kita cari jalan pintas untuk mendapatkan kejayaan. Dalam masa depan, you rasa anak-anak kita nak ambil jalan yang betul tak? Kita bukan cakap jalan ni salah, tapi kita tunjukkan jalan pintas tanpa foundation. And when I say foundation, I mean values. Nilai-nilai murni kita. Anak-anak kita belajar daripada kita. Right? So, and I'm I'm zeroing it down because this is the easiest that parents can relate. We all love our children. We all want to do the right things. I have no doubt. But just stop for a while and think, if my child can get A, does that make him or her a good human? And in your case as a Muslim, right, we want to think about, is this part of being a good Muslim? Right? So education and this has a lot, because education without value is just education. It's just knowledge. Tapi orang yang menggunakan ilmu dia untuk kebaikan manusia, umat manusia, are the ones who are living their ibadah well. Betul? So how are we injecting this into our children? So that's just academy, right? So think about art, art and music. Those who invest in art and music, why do we spend money sending our children for piano classes lah? Kan? It's expensive, right? Or even like ballet, or any form of art. Why do we do that? So anyone who spends money on art, tell me why you send your children for this. You tak hantar anak you untuk art class ke?
To diversify to develop to diversify their skills and inilah.
Again, it is skills, right? So it's not different from tuition. So, and there's nothing wrong, but let me tell you the science behind artistic. So whether we talk about art, or even if your child learns how to mengaji, right? In a way they sing the Quranic verses, right? If you really think about it, all of this has got elements of balance to our body. It is also to mean to heal our body. It's natural medicine for the body. That's the science behind it. Because when naturally we heal, so you find that a lot of people will do coloring nowadays, right? Or if you just sing, if you're the type who like to sing, and if you're into singing nasheed, if you sing, after singing you feel better, right? Yes or no? Because
yes, agree.
Because it makes you feel better. So if you look at the artistic, besides it having the secondary benefit, which is you use your brain better and all of that, you use another part of your brain, actually this has got healing functions of your body. That's why if you come from the older generation, Gen X specifically, masa sekolah, we have a lot of activity budaya. One Malaysia was natural. Hari ini kita fokus pada intelek sahaja, macam mana nak dapat A, how to do this, how to do that. You realize kegiatan kebudayaan kita has gone down. Indian children don't have Indian values. They don't want to wear Indian clothes. They don't want to speak in the Tamil language, right? My children go to a PJ school, and I have Malay friends who say, they don't speak Malay at home anymore. So it's quite an issue because we are not doing the things that happened naturally in the past. Because we associate English to success. And I'm not saying English is not important, right? But so can you see, we have taken away a lot of things that energizes us. If you sing, if you dance, if you draw, if you play, do you feel charged or not? So kita bagi tenaga kita macam power bank tau. Kita bagi kepada benda-benda yang mengambil tenaga daripada kita, tapi kita tak charge diri kita. Think about the 15 minutes, you play something with your children. You get charged after that, right? Right? So this is all in our system. And why I want you to think about this is this, right? Sebab cara kita menggunakan masa kita, cara kita menggunakan tenaga kita, cara kita menggunakan duit kita akan menonjolkan apakah nilai yang memandu kita, that drives us. And there's no right, no wrong. Kita nak faham sahaja. Okay, so don't say, oh, I send my children for tuition to get A, so it's wrong. Tak ada. Niat kita baik. Tapi kita kena fikirkan sekarang apakah nilai murni yang that's pushing us, that's driving us. Kita nak faham. Bila kita dah faham, senang kita nak memilih nilai kita. Yeah, so we are not accidentally motivated, but we are motivated. Are we good so far? Any questions? I know it's 10:21. Okay, now why is this important? Because we get switched on, right? So if you look at this, Ryan, boleh tengok
Boleh.
Yep.
Okay, so we talk about move towards action. So what I want to do is I want to just explain to you how your brain works, right? And this is really important. Do you know how many brains you have? Okay, we asked Ryan how many brains he has. I love your smile, Ryan, and that's why I'm picking on you for the difficult questions. So tell me, how many brains do you have, Ryan?
I have 2. Right and left kot.
Very good. Because you met me today, I'll give you 1 more free.
Oh, okay.
So we have 3 brains, yeah? So this is how our brain works. So can I ask you to do this? You take your hands and you do across macam ni. Lepas tu you pegang macam ni. Yes, very good. I can see for those who are doing macam ni. Across, lepas tu kita buat macam ni. Now, biasanya when we talk about brain and when we talk about the 2 brains that Ryan has, we are talking about the left brain and the right brain. This left brain and your right brain is your logical brain, which is what we usually think that is a brain lah. This is your clever brain that makes you do a lot of the clever things that you do in LTH, all your. So this is the logical learning brain, why we go to school and all that, right? And we think this is wisdom. We're not wrong, but we're not all right, okay? So kalau you tengok dalam, inside here is where, kalau you tengok, memang you takkan tengok apa-apa lah. Tapi you tengok lah. Yeah, but you teach this to your children, okay? This is very powerful. Right? So today after this, when you take a break, you tell your children, okay? Tengok dalam, nampak apa-apa tak?
Nampak malah.
Nampak ya? Dalam ni ialah your emotional brain.
Okay.
So that's why emosi kita tak faham sebab scientifically only in the less than 100 years they found out about emotions. That's why now psychology is very popular. Dulu kalau benda-benda yang kita kan panggil psikologi sekarang ni, dulu dia akan kata kita gila. Tapi sekarang it's known as mental health. It's known as depression. It's known as stress. Dulu pun ada tapi dikategorikan as gila lah. Right? Why? Because scientists never knew of this brain. Because this brain yang tadi Ryan kata amygdala tu, your emotional brain, when your emotions are running high, you cannot think. Are you with me? When you cannot think, you say stupid things, you do stupid things. And then get into trouble and stay stupid also. So if you don't understand a lot of stupid things that's happening, it's because they are not using this brain, but they are using this brain. Now, when do you use this brain? When you are feeling stressed, this brain will lead. It's a normal, bila kita rasa stress. Stress ialah bila kita rasa tak selamat. When you don't feel safe, you are stressed. Now, what is safe? Like just now one gentleman said, we have aircrafts. That's so scary. I'm not paying attention to it yet, but it is really scary, right? Number 1. Number 2, when you go out there and you see people wearing masks and you hear stories yang forwarded message. The scariest part, right? Right, ambil Korea pun dah takut dah. That's scary. Alright? So what happens is when you get scared, sometimes you find that you act irrationally. So I don't know whether you have, I have sometimes people forwarding me all this YouTube channel, jangan buat ni, jangan buat itu. Dia sayang kita, tapi tak masuk akal punya pun dia bagi dekat kita. Sebab they get worked up because they love you. They want you to be safe. Alright? Just like, how when we talk about SOP, walaupun kita tahu ada SOP dan ada kebaikan dia, tetapi we langgar SOP ni sebab kita ikutkan hati. Alah, sayang. Alah, macam mana ni? Tak sayang, tak boleh. I faham because I'm like that. Right? Tapi kita tak boleh kutuk dia sebab the heart is leading them in love. Right? So this is why we need to understand when people are operating from the emotional side, we need to calm them down first. Kalau dia tak calm down, dia tak boleh guna otak dekat sini. Faham? So that's why you don't talk logical stuff to people who are emotional. When people are emotional, right, operating from this brain, you need to calm them down first supaya dia tak stress. Bila dia tak stress, bila anda bagi tahu dia, dia boleh dengar dan faham. Bila kita stress, kita boleh dengar tapi tak faham. Bukan bodoh, but that's how because our emotional state stress tu adalah untuk kebaikan kita. It's to tell us when things are dangerous so that we become careful. Alright? So I see a mothers here, right? So I'm going to tell you this. So one of the silly things we mothers do is, you know when your child make a mistake, have your children lied to you? Ada kan? So the thing is this, right? If a child, say for example, breaks a glass and you know your child broke it, and then you go, "Mai sini, siapa buat?" You rasa dia nak bagi tahu you? Dia nak ikhlas dekat you tak? Tak boleh. So masa tu dah hijack. Masa tu dia nak selamatkan diri. Masa dia nak selamatkan diri, tu apa dia akan buat? Dia akan cakap tak tahu ataupun blame another person. Sebab dia nak selamatkan diri. Now, that doesn't make the person good or bad. That just makes the person human. So if you don't want your child to lie, don't put your children in position where they have to lie. Can you see how we sabotage ourselves? It's like employees lah kan? Kan? You tahu ada orang yang MC tapi tak sakit, betul tak? Yeah? So instead of picking on them and saying what they are doing is wrong, what we want to do is we want to ask them, hey, actually what's happening? See that I want to help you. Okay? Now when you do that, dia akan percaya pada anda, dia tak akan rasa stres ataupun tak selamat. And chances of them speaking the truth is higher. Number one, chances higher, walaupun dia tak berani cakap dekat you sebab takutkan akibat, the chances of them repeating the same behavior is lower. So keselamatan adalah benda yang paling penting kalau you nak orang ikhlas dekat kita. And in HR, you need people to tell you the truth so that you can make the right choices. Otherwise, if you don't have the relationship in HR, what happens? We have to have banyak SOP, tahu tak? You manage people by processes, you manage people by rules, you manage people like machines. You manage people like machine and then you expect them to be committed at work. Confusing tau. Can you see that? Now, so if you think about same thing parenting also, when we try to manage children by processes, they will have good habits, but they may not own the habits. That's why when they are teenagers, they break free, right? So you find a lot of good children when they become teenagers, they break free because they rasa terkongkong. Manusia ni tak suka dikongkong, dia suka menggunakan akal fikiran dia untuk membuat keputusan. Jadi kerja kita ialah untuk membolehkan orang menggunakan akal fikiran dan membuat keputusan yang baik untuk diri mereka dan organisasi kita, ya. Alright, so can you see that? So what are the 7 switches, right? So if you think about your motivasi, right? So remember just now I asked you, what do you do with your time and money? Right? So whether it's tuition ke, whether you are spending time, money on food, for example, or insurance, if you think about it, it revolves around, can be categorized into these, what we call 7 switches, right? Now, why do we do these 7 switches? Because we have an assessment for this, right? So that's why it can be other words, but I'm just going to introduce you the 7. So you look at your motivasi, now you ask yourself, which one does yours fall under, okay? And you can have different categories, tetapi you will find that some category will repeat itself. So pertama, I want growth. Growth means I always want to become better. I want to learn more. I want to grow as a person, right? And then you have autonomy. Autonomy ialah kita nakkan kebebasan kita, personal control. I nak buat cara I. You tell me what to do, tapi you jangan bagi tahu I macam mana I kena buat. Reward is very much directly money, ya. Recognition, people want to be recognized. You tahu tak slide yang trainer guna tu hari tu I buat, right? So it's the recognition. Purpose is motivated by meaning and purpose. This is where our ibadah is, yeah, and I'll talk about it a bit later. Collaboration is how do we come together to work. So you will find some people who work from home. Kalau you are the type yang suka collaborate, suka relationship, you will be suffering a little bit because you're losing out on the collaboration. Well-being, a positive and healthy balance in personal and work life. So at this moment, I want you to just pause for a moment and say, benda-benda yang you tulis tadi sebagai investment anda gunakan untuk masa anda tu dan wang anda, do you see it falling into one of these categories?
Yes.
Yes. So this is just a category for us to understand motivation. It's not the only category, right? But what it does is dia akan bagi kita tema tau. So kalau you write down all activity anda hari-hari, so you can do this. So katalah hari ni you tengoklah, so even in the office activity, I buat planning, I buat execution, I ada meeting, I pergi kursus dan sebagainya. Kalau you letakkan benda ni dalam tema ni, you will see teams, alright? And Ryan, I will send you these slides after this so that you can pass it to the people, right? So when you see teams, this is where you begin to understand tema yang berturut-turut, that it is repeated, is one of your high values, right? Like for me, when I did this test, so for me kan kerja I mean my work is very much people and relationship and finding purpose kan. So I thought before I did this, I thought my purpose will be ranked number 1 tau. Alright? But when I did this in the profile itself, I was shocked. Can anybody guess which was my number 1? Just guess only.
Collaboration.
Okay, Ryan, take a guess.
Well-being.
Yay, well-being. Lagi? One more.
Purpose.
Autonomy.
Autonomy, siapa cakap tu?
Farhan.
Okay. Why do you say it's autonomy, Farhan?
Justice.
Okay, so no prize for you because you were guessing. But that was true. I was shocked.
Oh.
I was shocked. So my first one was autonomy. My second one is growth. My third one was purpose. Purpose and growth are same. That means the points were the same. But my autonomy was the highest. And what I realized was this, because I run a business, right? And my business is very purpose-centric. So our whatever job we do, we say, how do we bring the best out of the individuals? How to be your best version is what we do in all the work that we do. That's our ultimate mission. Help individuals to be their best versions. What I realized is this, as the person who founded this business, because my autonomy was so high, I was sacrificing my purpose.
Repeat that again, please.
My autonomy was so high. Keperluan saya, keperluan untuk kebebasan saya begitu tinggi that untuk kebebasan saya, how to say sacrifice?
Mengorbankan.
Yeah, thank you. My husband say korban. Yeah, saya tak tahu bahawa saya telah korbankan saya punya purpose ataupun ibadah. I didn't know. Right? When I saw it, I was still okay. I mean, memang lah, I like my kebebasan kan. But then I realized that, it is this kebebasan that affects my mission. Because this is personally driven. This is mission driven. Ini kita buat untuk kebaikan manusia. Ini untuk keperluan diri kita. Can you see this is more self-centered? Does it make sense? And we all will fall into, so what happened for me in the first 6 months, I tell you I was shocked. Then after that, I spoke to my coach and she said, oh, okay, now we had a conversation. Of course, the first time she had the conversation, I tak nak terima lah. Like, I felt like, how can I be wrong? Really, it was difficult for me. Anyway, long story short, we worked on it. So I said, okay, I need to bring my autonomy down. And then what happened was this, right? When I brought down my autonomy, which was not natural for me, my collaboration increased. When my collaboration increased, what happened? My purpose automatically. Now, I'll tell you, give you a few examples of collaboration. So when this happened, so before this, whenever I have people asking, let's collaborate, let's work together, I won't work together. I love people, people love me, right? But my problem is this, I want to do it my way, right? And so when companies ask me, when organizations, and I'm not talking about corporate organization, ask me to collaborate with them, I'm very careful. Now, if I see the last 2 years, I have collaborated with Tulips, I've collaborated with Yayasan. I did, in the last 12 months, if I'm not exaggerating, I have done 10 NGO programs, minimally 10. That is more than I've ever done in 12 months.
Mala, sorry, how to get the assessment done, Mala?
Through me. Yeah.
Very interesting.
So this assessment tells you your flow. Your flow, that means when you are at your best. And so what we do here is this, right? When we understand what is driving us, we understand whether these drivers are leading us in the right direction. So one is your own direction, another one is the direction of the organization. And we can have a conversation as a team to say, ala Zirhaya ni selalu suka collaborate, right? But maybe as a head, right, collaboration may not be the right one for you, for the purpose. I don't know what the answer is, just saying. So for me, what I realized, my autonomy was not helping my purpose or my business. So in the last 14 months, we didn't make much money, but we've done a lot of meaningful work. Right? Now, why? Because I brought down my autonomy. Does it make sense? Yeah? So you will find, if we look at this, right? So showing you this again. Have you met people who are extremely high on their well-being? Well-being means dia selalu nak jaga kesihatan. Alah, I tak cukup tidur, I tak boleh lah kerja lebih sikit, nanti tak boleh, I kena juga pergi exercise. They're extremely OCD about well-being. Alamak, I tak boleh makan, karbo hari ni banyak sangat, dia kira kalori. I'm talking about extreme behaviors. Have you met people like that?
Yes.
Ryan.
Yes.
Oh, that's why Ryan.
Yes.
Okay. Now, so the thing is this. So imagine 1 to 10. Let's say your need for well-being is at 10. Right? Now, if you're at 10, assuming, and Ryan, you don't have to answer, okay? if you are 10 at well-being, which is the other motivation factor that you think will be affected? 10 is paling tinggi ya. Kalau kita terlalu pentingkan well-being kita, right? Apa yang mungkin kita korbankan?
Collaboration.
Maybe. What else?
Autonomy.
Maybe. Autonomy, I'm not sure lah.
Well, my view is that if you are so structured in wanting to manage your well-being,
Okay.
you don't have the luxury to, oh, I can eat anything I want, I can do whatever I want, you know.
The reason I will disagree, I agree with you, but the reason I disagree from the definition point of view is because you want to retain personal control. So when they want to eat and exercise and do all of that, because they see that as personal control, only from that perspective. But from what you say, I agree. Now think about someone who is high on well-being, right? Do you see them sometimes giving away opportunity to grow?
Yes.
There's a project you can take on, there's a new course you can take, but you need to sacrifice sometimes personally. And I'm talking about someone who's at 10, not someone who is at 7. 7 is okay. Kalau 10 keterlaluan, that's what I'm saying. My autonomy, when I first measured, was 9, by the way. So it was very high. Now, have you seen people who are extremely focused on well-being sometimes can give away recognition? They don't want to achieve, ala tak apalah, kita biarkan aja. Right? So the whole point of having this conversation is we are human beings now. So it's balanced. When you do something too much, you are doing too little somewhere. And this too much and too little, you need to check in to see whether this is relevant. There's no right, wrong. There is no right, there is no wrong. But we need to see, okay, when I do this, is this in line with my nilai-nilai murni dan misi hidup saya ataupun ibadah saya? And when we say mission or purpose, meaning and purpose, right? I need to ask whether the amount of autonomy I hold as a mother is good for me when I'm a mother, my vocation as a mother. Kalau menjadi ibu kepada anak itu adalah ibadah. For some people it's not, yeah? Right? But for me it is. Right? So for me, I think, I'm specially chosen to be a mom. Right? Because I didn't have kids for many years. So for me, that's like, very important. But does it mean I'm a great mom? No, I try hard. There are a lot of times I fail. Right? And when I fail, this helps me to think through what is important for me. When I choose work over my children, I need to it really eats me up. Because I think I'm working for my children. But yet I'm not present for my children. Right? I think if you're a mother, you really will understand this. And some fathers understand this too now. Right? Because the presence in our children's life is what is going to shape them. No amount of money we have will shape our children. No amount of money. Right? And for those who argue with me, money is more important. Yeah, we go through this argument in the corporate sector all the time. And if you're a Muslim, it's very simple, right? Actually, being a Muslim life is very simple. Because why? Because every time you're given a child, it's rizqi for you, right? God has already decided what's there for your child. Right? And I think these are concepts that helps you to anchor whether you believe in the values that you say you believe. That's why I started the session asking you whether you believe, right? So any questions first? Okay. Otherwise, I don't know whether you all know this guy. Yeah? Lance Armstrong. Lance Armstrong was diagnosed with cancer. All right, and this is what he said in interview with Oprah. He said, I was always a fighter. When I was diagnosed and being treated, I said, I will do anything to survive, and that's good. I took the attitude that ruthless and relentless and win at all cost attitude right into cycling, and that's bad. So if you think of the story of Lance Armstrong, he was a fighter because he had cancer, which was fine. But he took the same attitude into cycling. He was so desperate to win and to be a star that he took drugs to win. Right? Yeah. And so what happened is all the legacy he built over the years, right, went down the drain when he actually acknowledged it, because it was no more the same strength, right? Lance Armstrong's story is I do a bit of work on well-being, right? The story of Lance Armstrong itself is very sad because he talks about his childhood. Why does he have this fighting spirit? So this is the background story before kita kutuk Lance Armstrong, yeah? This is the story of how extreme success led to his downfall in some ways, right? What he worked for all the years just vanished overnight, right? But if you look at Lance Armstrong in your childhood, as a child, he comes from a broken home. And all he knew coming from a broken home is to fight and fight and fight. Now, why am I saying this, right? Kalau kita tengok masyarakat kita, especially in the city, there are a lot more divorces, a lot more single mothers, and fathers who don't give nafkah, right? Now, what happens is the only thing we teach our children is we have to fight. There's nothing wrong in saying, tetapi they continue to behave that way all their life. They continue to be insecure. All right? And this is important. I think this is important for the government to realize. Because the increase in single families is going to become an issue in the future. Yeah, can you see that? So Lance Armstrong, there was a very sad story when I read about him, right? There's a book called When the Body Says No. So what happened was he had cancer. He couldn't break the news to his mother because he couldn't see the mother hurt. So it's a big story on why your childhood is really, really so important. Right? So I'll give you another story. This lady is quite amazing. And Malkahi, right now, what she did was Xerox, right? And they told her to close down Xerox. And she said, I was so angry because they couldn't comprehend the passion and drive that is required to succeed and the impact of bankruptcy on the company's employees. So they wanted her to close down Xerox. Our people believed we were in a war that we could win. So if you read Anne Mulcahy's story, which is amazing, right? What she did was she took a demotion to talk to employees to say that we are going through difficult times. We don't have money, but I need you on my side. And that's how Xerox reworked itself. So, I mean, you can read a lot of case studies. Now, so you look at Lance Armstrong, what value is he driven by? Is it him or his mission? Diri dia ke misi?
Mission.
Hey, Lance Armstrong. He said mission lah, tapi was it about...
It's for himself.
Yeah, he said mission, but actually it was about him. Can you see? And you will find a lot of leaders who are like Lance Armstrong. Kita buat ini sebab ini adalah untuk whatever. Tapi cara hidup dia kita dah tahu dah. Dia ada udang.
Ulterior motive.
If anything that feeds you and feeds your ego, you know it's not misi anymore. Alright? Orang yang jalankan ibadah, dia akan jalankan untuk purpose. So if you look at Anne Mulcahy, she don't mind taking a pay cut. She don't mind taking a demotion. It's not ego-driven. Can you see the difference? Right? And so we need to ask, when you need to revamp HR, when we need to do work differently, are we willing to do what is right for the people? Right? And it's not easy, yeah? And you need to know that if you are finding it difficult, we need to create space in HR to talk about it. Kalau dekat HR kita tak boleh cakap pasal benda-benda ini yang menyukarkan kita, macam mana kita nak cakap dengan anak buah kita? Macam mana kita nak faham? Macam mana kita nak tolong dia supaya fokus pada misi lembaga tabung haji? It's not about you. Right? If we win as an organization, you will win. But if you win, doesn't mean the organization will win. Always remember this. How many employees are there in LTH? Roughly?
2000.
Whatever decision we make, we are looking after the future of 2,000 families, not 2,000 employees. Every decision you make impacts their family. That's why we need to make the right choice.
Mala, question?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody have their own switches.
Correct.
Masing-masing ada switch dia kan. I might want recognition, somebody else might want well-being, might want me. Let's say in the whole team of human capital ni, you have many different switches. We have 70 here, 70 orang kat sini. Everybody ada dia punya switches. How do you align all these switches?
Nice.
Sama kan?
No, it's a $1 million question. It's a very good question. So the thing is this, right? If you look at organizations, or just use the concept of switches, right? At home ada banyak switch kan? There are some switches that we use more often than others. Correct? Where people gather, like the dining area, maybe the hall area, the TV area is where we use the lights a lot. We switch on. So what we need to do is first know the switches, number one. Number two, what we do when we do the ranking is, first you must create a safe space for people to say it's okay if my reward is number one. Jangan kutuk orang. Tak ada betul, tak ada salah. Okay? So first, tak boleh kutuk. It's a mindset, right, of respecting people. Now, once we bring that, then next we ask, is your switch at the right place for the organization? So if you are in the hall where your switch means everybody gets light, but you want to off that switch, then we need to have a talk. Jadi, kalau switch anda tu iaitu well-being anda yang keterlaluan. So, kalau well-being also, it's okay to be at 7 because optimal is at 7 in our measurement. 8, 9, 10 is overuse. Anything that's overused is not good, even purpose. So, you will find some people, walaupun dia kata purpose kan, when it's 8, 9, 10, they become very blinded. Dia akan mengambil tindakan yang tak munasabah because they want to make that purpose happen. And my always, right, when I work with people who are very purpose driven and they say, I want to do this, sometimes they hurt people. They make decisions that hurt families, right, in the name of purpose. I always, and if they bring
Soalan.
Sorry.
Mana?
Okay. If they bring religion into it, my only question for them is always, who's greater, you satu orang ke God? Right? We are the warriors, right? We do what we can. Don't try to be bigger than the bigger person. Right? So even purpose can be bad. So number one, safe space. Number two, we look at the switches and say, how is it affecting their role? And how is it affecting the organization? So sometimes, if your switch serves your role, first, it's good. Number two, it has to serve the organization or your department purpose. Usually this and this goes together, right? If it doesn't serve the role, that's where you need to coach them. Help them to see and help them to make the shift. All right, and how do you support that, right? So and we also don't want everyone who is purpose driven problem tau. You need, kalau kita cakap pasal diversity and inclusion, diversity means people are spread out towards one goal because our talents are different. So can you imagine kalau especially for an organization like LTH, for example, if there's no one who is rewards driven, katalah, not rewards driven, not achievement driven, right? you know, you don't get a best employer award because you say, alah, tak apa, kalau kita punya, kita akan dapat lah, tapi kita tak berusaha, right? And so what happens is, as an organization, you don't get the recognition you deserve. You don't get the branding you deserve in today's world. You can't attract the right talent. Betul tak? Sebab kita nak humble, tak nak menonjolkan diri dan sebagainya. So if you have a few people who are in the recognition is actually good, but provided they are in the right job lah. Right? So we need to spread it. We need to see how the spread works for the organization. Did I answer your question? That is theoretically lah. Practically, I think it all depends who is that person, how important their role is, and to have the conversation. What we always say is this, right? Whenever organization do profile, we'll always tell them, don't worry about the numbers because the number only starts the conversation going. The conversation will change everything. And that's why we need to create safe spaces for people to have conversations. Yeah? Yes.
Setiap seorang, they have different switches. Switch yang berbeza lah kan. Bila bekerja dengan kehidupan personal, can you have different switches? Switch berbeza. Kalau di rumah, my switch is this. Tapi kalau di tempat kerja, switch saya adalah ini. Can I do that?
Because I want to show you this one. You said something that is really crucial. You can see this slide?
Yes.
Okay, so this was a study done. So what basically you're asking is, can I have different values? Am I right? That means at work, I'm driven by something. In my personal life, I'm driven by something else. Am I right?
Yeah.
Right. There was this study, and I really want us to pay attention to this study. Give me just 10 minutes, I'll wrap up. So what they did is this, right? A lot of times organizations pay attention to organizational values. Nilai-nilai murni untuk lembaga tabung haji, for example, right? But what they found is this. Now, kenapa? Why do we put people through nilai-nilai murni punya kursus? Because we want people to be committed to the organization. So what they did in this study, which is really interesting, is this, that komitmen paling tinggi adalah 7. What they found is this. People's clarity, orang yang clear tentang dia punya nilai diri dia, personal values, dia punya komitmen ialah 6.12. And then kalau dia faham nilai murni the organization, dia dapat 6.26. Tetapi orang yang tak faham nilai dia, iaitu 4.9, bila you hantar dia kursus, dia punya komitmen terhadap organization punya values berkurang. Now, why is this important? Because we need to understand that as human beings, right? When you're clear about your nilai, your switch, we need to recruit people whose switches align with the organization. Different is okay. Opposite cannot. Nilai yang tak sama, kita boleh reconcile lah kira. Right? Tetapi kalau kita mempunyai nilai yang bertentangan, kita ada problem. Katalah, for example, I give you an example. Let's say I am very family-centric. Let's say the organization is result-centric. And the organization culture, you datang kerja pukul 7, you balik lah. Kalau boleh balik. Aku tak kisah. So there was one organization where people will set an alarm for the email from the boss 24 hours. Pukul 2, bos hantar email, dia akan jawab. This is what we call opposing values. Tak boleh. Because only one can win. And when organization win, your family will have to lose. And you will never be at your best. Because what happens with these people is that they end up feeling guilty for not being with the family. They end up giving more money, buy more expensive gifts, take for quality holiday overseas, but no relationship. Does it make sense? Right? So it is extremely important to find. So that's why in recruitment, we always say, look for people who support your values. Yeah?
Malah,
Yeah.
usually dalam HR ni kan,
Mm.
kami diajar ni tau. You have the organisation needs, you have the personal needs. At all time, HR decision have to kena berdasarkan kepada apa yang diperlukan oleh organisasi, not what the individual needs. How is that? Apa ni? Apa tu to fit into what you say just now kan? We have to be more apa ni understanding what are the switches of the people, the values of the individual. Setiap orang dia ada keperluan dia sendiri. Tetapi bila di HR ni kita kata it's always that keperluan organisasi number one.
Okay.
The individual. How can we improve better in that way?
I think so. Two things, right? Number one is the way I think about it is this, right? We are employed to serve a purpose, and we need to serve that purpose. Now, when individuals decide to join an organization, the orientation is very important. Because whether I believe in the organization purpose is very, very important. And in today's world, that has become more important. So we need to align. So if you ask me between personal gain and organization, which one will win? All the time organization, and I totally agree. However, I think the missing part is not choosing organization values over personal needs. I think the missing part is the reconciliation of the right people who fit into the organization and being in organization that fit your values. I give you I think it's an interesting example, right? This morning I woke up and I read, I don't know whether you all watch tennis. I'm not a tennis person, but I like Naomi Osaka, because she's always different. Okay, so I like to read and I like to watch her video as to how she behaved, right? And so I woke up this morning and all the news about how Naomi Osaka has withdrawn from the French Open and all the kutukan, because she doesn't want to deal with the press and she doesn't, so she decided that she will take a step back, right? Now, we can talk about it and we can say, okay, it's a bad career move, but I think she stayed true. She stayed true to her spirit, right? Now, what will happen? Now, who will win? I don't know. But what will happen in the future is, depending on where the netizens support, that's where the values will flow. So Nike has already come out to say, I am with Naomi because her well-being is important. Whether they mean it, they don't mean it, actually, I don't know. It could be something they do for branding, right? But what will happen is that people now have so much of power to voice out what they feel. And one of those things now is happening is, if you realize, kan, people are not going for job security anymore. Itu zaman kita tau. Sebab zaman kita, memang you join one company and you die in the company.
Bukan zaman saya.
Nah, tak ada, you are too
Saya
young.
muda lagi.
Muda lagi. So we must also see generation-wise, our opportunities are greater. Going global is greater if you are skilled. Which means that people who you know how to use their brains well, that means well educated, not all A, tapi know how to use their brains well, right? Educated, and who have global connection will survive anywhere, especially after this pandemic. Organizations cannot hold their citizens ransom anymore. It will take a while in Malaysia because Malaysia, there's a lot of mentality issues. Kita terlalu terkongkong lah, right? We're used to it, right? In a couple of years, but the new generation is already thinking that way, yeah? You look at new generation, they don't go for large organization. So kalau dulu, we will see Petronas, organization of Petronas, you have people waiting in queue. Now people don't wait in queue. This new employees, the young generation, go for the interview, dia pula tanya soalan. Apakah misi anda, apakah, right? So the problem is already there. Look at politically what's happening. Look at politically right now, how the politicians are changing decisions because netizens are making noise. It's already telling you, because you see, at the end of the day, whatever the politicians do, without talking about parties and all of that, they know that if people are not happy, my next job is going to be affected. Even Tun Mahathir wasn't spared, mind you. So the world has changed. So while you're right, but I think we also need to see the transition that has happened now. And those who don't transition, if you are young and you're not willing to change, you have problems. Because you're going to be in the workforce for a longer time, compared to people who are not so young, who are ready to retire. Yeah, it's a real issue. And even if you are not so young, our problem is this, right? Dulu, I remember, bila you dah 55, you know your EPF, you can use it until you mati. Nah, tak boleh dah. It can't even last you for 10 years. And if you live more than 10 years, that is 65, apa you nak buat? Right? Anak you those days, you know, kalau dulu kita earn 1,000 something, we can still give money to our parents, right? Today, your child can be earning 5,000, but cannot give you money because 1,000 for the car, 3,000 for the condominium. Life has changed, right? Can you see that, right? So how do we reconcile this? This is where structurally the organization need to be very, very clear. What do we want? Where are we heading? What kind of people are going to belong? The next 3 years, kalau kita tengok trend pada masa ni, and HR is very important, purpose-driven organization are the ones that is going to retain and attract the right talent. For a while, we were very results-driven. The last 10 years is results-driven, economy-driven, business-driven, and that wasn't wrong. But right now, especially post-pandemic, people are stopping to say, how long am I going to live? What legacy am I going to leave? So people are going back to purpose. And this will determine the next at least 3 to 5 years.
Mala.
Yes, there are questions, by the way.
Mala, for TH punya context kan, I think what drive the people here, if you look at it, will be the purpose. That's why we have people exceeding 30 years of service, and we have a very, very low attrition rate as a matter of fact. Because I think, well, okay. Because of Tabung Haji is the Islamic punya organisation, the values is very, the mission is very Islamic, religion related. Those who have, because we interviewed those who wants to join Tabung Haji, why they want to join Tabung Haji? You know what dia jawab apa? Bila kita tanya orang yang baru nak masuk kan, atau orang yang baru masuk Tabung Haji, dia kata kerana dia nak masuk Tabung Haji sebab untuk memperbaiki diri dia to be a better Muslim.
Nice. Now, I will challenge that.
Okay.
Not just because Tabung Haji, but I will challenge that. How do I know? When people join, people may join for the right reason, but people who stay for 30, 40 years can be more than the reason. Now, how will I know? Kalau they are driven by purpose, it will show up in productivity. Okay, and the quality of decision, right? So if your productivity matches your experience, I terima. I terima. That means, so if you look at people who have been working in Tabung Haji for 30 years, and this is what I say to any organization where people work for a long time. I say, in 30 years, your salary would have been, 10 times more. But if the quality of work that you're delivering was the same as 10 years ago, we need to rethink.
Agree.
Whether we're doing that. So that's one thing. What I also know is that not just Tabung Haji, I used to work in Bank Negara, right? Now, one of the reasons the attrition rate was low is because people wanted the benefits. They didn't want to move. It's near my house. I can pick up my children. I can go back home at 5 o'clock. Now, if these are the reasons, these are not the wrong reasons, but they are not purpose-driven. It is very important for any organization to confirm with behavior whether people are purpose-driven. It's not what they say, it's what they do. Right? I'll give you a non-Muslim example. This is a controversial example. I'm a Christian. I work with a lot of church workers. Right? And all the church workers, these are what we call volunteers, kan? So bila dia volunteer, when you ask them why you want to volunteer, and they memang volunteer, they work very hard, harder than people who are paid, right? Because it comes from the heart. When you ask them why they want to do it, they will say, because I want to serve God. Betul lah. Niat dia betul. Tetapi, in terms of the action, they are fighting with each other, they have power struggle, they don't want other people to be better than them. It all goes against what I will call the Christian values, right? So we must always see kalau kita jalankan ini sebagai ibadah kita, and if it is purpose driven, your action will speak louder than your words. Don't be smitten by what people say, because all of us know what is the right thing to say. Right? I mean, it's like racism, right? A lot of people will say, I'm not racist. Right? So one of the conversations we had is, I'm not racist. But, very simple, I always tell people, I'm an Indian, right? And you're a Malay. Now, if I'm not a racist, when someone kutuk you, I should be upset. I shouldn't get upset when someone kutuk Indians only. Then I'm a racist. Kalau you're not a racist, anyone who kena kutuk, you akan marah. Can you, but a lot of people will say, I'm not a racist. Right? So what you say and what you do is two different things. Now, if you would allow me, I just want to show you this, right? One of the issues with purpose is this. A lot of people think that kalau kita purpose-driven, it doesn't bring about financial benefits. So this is a commercial one where they did a study, right? Now, can you see this line, the blue one, right? Sorry, right? Now, what they actually found is this. The blue is what they call firms of endearment. What are firms of endearment? Firms of endearment are firms that are purpose-driven. So what they found is firms that are purpose-driven, mula-mula dia slow tau dia punya growth. But eventually, after 10 years, they are far supersede organization that is results-driven. Okay? Right, and this is a study that unfortunately is not quoted much, right? And so if I look at, I just want to show you what we have actually done. So this is the concept we are talking about, right? So when we talk about organization, we're talking about our brand vision. Visi kita, visi tabung haji, misi tabung haji, nilai-nilai murni. Kenapa? All of this leads to apa kita panggil identity kita. Sebagai lembaga tabung haji staff dan sebagai ambassador lembaga tabung haji, and for all of the people I in tabung haji is also a Muslim identity, right? Then you have brand promise. Apakah yang kita kata kita akan buat? And brand personality is apakah kelakuan kita yang orang nampak dan orang akan kata ini memang, representative of an Islamic value. All of this has to come together. Dia kena congruent, kena selari. Kadang-kadang apa yang kita cakap sini tak selari dengan apa yang kita buat sini, and that's where a lot of problems come. So if you look at your LTH punya vision dengan misi, kan? Dia kata our vision is to be the pillar of the Ummah's economic success and excellence in Hajj management, which is, I think, is so powerful, right? Now, how do you do this? You strengthen the economy of the Ummah, right? The people. Right? So if we don't help people economically, how are they, going to go to Hajj? How are they going to have the peace of mind to say, I want to, complete my cycle as a Muslim, right? So it's so connected, which I think is fantastic. Now, how do we do that? To remain active, looking for strategic investment locally. Now, locally is all right? But if you think about globally, then how are we going to seek investment globally? How do we need to think to be global? To consolidate and enrich deficitous fund, to continue excellent services, facilitate, I love this, and assist pilgrims, right? Now, and to provide competitive and halal return, right? And so this is amazing because you want people who invest to know that everything that comes through the work of Tabung Haji is clean. Now, how do we do it? We are saying we are committed. We are saying we are professional. We are saying we work together. We are saying we are loving and caring. And we are saying we are embracing change. Now, whether we are behaving this way will be the final test of whether we are ambassadors of Lembaga Tabung Haji. Because if I'm not committed, if I don't work together, I tak suka you, you tak suka I tak suka cara you cakap dan I lebih baik daripada anda dan sebagainya. If you have these kind of issues, then you know that we are going against our values, right? Can you see that? Now, we will not have a perfect organization. Sebab kita manusia kan. But I think what we're doing is every time kita berlerai, we want to bring it back together. And HR needs to do it for HR first before HR can do it for the 2,000 employees. Kalau kita tak tahu macam mana nak bersatu menjadi satu keluarga HR, macam mana kita nak tunjukkan kepada orang lain bila mereka tak tahu how to be the Tabung Haji ambassador? Can you see that? So our core is not just the purpose, it's how we do it. Our purpose is clear, but how we deliver the purpose is through our values. And I think that's the part that we want to test. So kalau kita tengok pasal attrition rate tadi kan, we want to see whether our employees at all levels are committed, professional, work together, we do it in a loving and caring way, and whether we're willing to embrace change. All right? And I'm not too sure which one will be the most difficult one. So if you think about here, kan, last question for you all, before, if you think, which one do you think is the most difficult in our organization in your experience? Paling sukar.
Change, embracing change.
Thank you. I would have suspected that too. Right? And I think what will be brilliant is that if the embracing change is then connected to also another Islamic value, because the others are very directly Islamic, right? But change, I'm not sure. So again, you know, do we understand what does it mean to embrace change? Do we know what it means to get upgraded? Because we want to be global. If you don't embrace change, your vision will not work. Because we want global, right? Right? We're not looking at just being Malaysian. We're not looking at depositors who are just from this country. We're not looking for investment from that. We're too small for a big dream unless we have the big players. If you have a big dream for LTH, we need to think big. To think big, we need the support of the big guys. And for that, we need to embrace change. Embrace change that will glorify Islam. I think there are some people who embrace change, but it doesn't glorify Islam, right? So it's just not about how much money you make, how successful you are. It's not that. It's how many people's economic standards have improved, how many families you have saved, how many people at B40 who have managed to do their Hajj. Right? These are the criteria that you need to decide that makes you successful, because these are the dreams the young people are going to buy into. They're going to say, I am so smart, but I'm going to join Lembaga Tabung Haji because I want to make a difference, because I'm going to show the world what it means to be a modern Muslim, right? That can change the world so that people look at me differently. And for that, change is required. You need to understand this, right? We have good role models, we have bad role models. the good need to be so loud so that when we see the bad ones, people will not associate it to Islam. So, and I say this to every other group. The moment the bad behaviors become too loud, especially with media, right? Because they overplay it, right? This is why you want to gather the voice of people to be on your side. And that's so critical, yeah? It's very, very critical. And you have the power to do it. And you know, if you know you're doing this every day, when you wake up, what is your motivation 1 to 10? If you wake up and say, today I'm starting work in everything that I do, in the meetings that I attend, in the presence that I give, in the courses that I go for, in the way I set up my work, in the way I set up my choices and my communication, I am going to be an extraordinary Muslim who will then contribute to Lembaga Tabung Haji's vision and mission. How would you feel when you wake up in the morning? What will your children think of you the way you wake up to go to work? How proud will they be to be part of this community? I think those are very, very personal answers that only we can answer. Are we good? All right, so I'm done. I know I took 20 minutes additional time, so I'm just going to trade it to say I started late. So please forgive me if I have extended into time. I'm here, very happy to answer questions. So I'm not in a rush. I am just conscious of your time, but I would love to answer any question that you have at the moment.
Hi, Mala.
Hi.
Hi, I have a question. Okay. As for apa ni, industrial relation, we deal with disciplinary. Okay, kakak sana je.
You take her and sit on your lap. She won't cut you already.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. I just want to know. Okay. When we deal with disciplinary, so which interest that we need to focus on, whether it's organizational interest or the staff interest?
So I don't think it is organization or staff interest. I will say, so give me an example of a disciplinary action. Let's talk about an example in context, right? So give me a disciplinary action that you need to take against a staff.
Okay, let's say for the action that warrants for dismissal and demotion.
Okay, so even before dismissal and demotion, tell me, what did this person do?
Okay, for example, okay, I give 2 examples lah. One is forged document.
Okay.
Forged signature, and the other one is just macam lack of responsibility sampai interest of the organisation dia punya personal interest is more than organisation, means they tak take care of the organisation interest lah in the decision that he or she makes.
So forget about corporate. For now, let's park aside personal interests and corporate interests. Just, you're an Islamic organization, am I right?
Yes.
Now let's just look at Islamic principles. I'm not a Muslim, so I cannot say this, right? You're a Muslim, and you're talking to another person who's forged documents. If I'm talking to this person as a non-Muslim, the first question I'll ask this person is this: what will Nabi say about your behavior? You don't have to look at organizational values at all. First and foremost, forging documents, how is it Islamic in nature, number one? Number two, you look at your organization vision and mission. If you forge documents, are you building trust in Lembaga Tabung Haji, or you're breaking trust? What is the number of depositors you have? What's the number of deposited? Give me, it's simply a number.
7 or 9 billion.
You are breaking the trust that we have built with the 9 billion people. You faham tak? It's not you, it's not Lembaga Tabung Haji tau. One case come out, 9 billion people are going to doubt the value that Lembaga Tabung Haji stands for. And when people don't trust us anymore as an organization that represents Islam, you know how bad it is? To build that back, you know how difficult it is? You only need one person to break it off. So there is no, for me, you don't even have to, there's no conversation even where you need to talk about personal values. You tell me when you forged the document, what value are you talking about? There was no value in it. Muslim or non-Muslim, the story is the same. Right? If it's a non-Muslim and I'm talking to a non-Muslim and people who don't believe in God, for example, I'll only ask, will you encourage your child to do this? Will you want your child watching this and learning this from you? I want to know that. It doesn't matter to me whether you believe in God or not. I just want to know that. If you can say you don't mind, then fine. But how many people are going to say that? So in your case, you see, whenever we are representing the public's money and we are representing a religion, kan, the burden to stay clean is extremely high, right? And this is where, you know, you bring in the concept of halal, right? So even if you talk about people who don't carry out their job responsibility, tak payah cakap banyak. Betul ke ni? Boleh ke kita buat macam ni? You know, you don't have to go into complex conversation, right? And I found when I coach people who are not Muslims, right? Because I love talking to Muslims, you know why? I tak payah cakap banyak, I tanya satu soalan saja. Ni I takut tak halal tau. Itu je. I takut. Memang I takut. So I'm very Muslim in my halal concept because I'm very scared to take anything that I have not earned. I'm very, very scared, right? Now, and because my parents taught me that, my you know, if I bring back any stationery that is not mine, my mother will whack us, you know, because she said it's not yours, right? Even if you go hungry, you don't take people's food. She will whack us, right? Right? So when you think about it, I think we as Lembaga Tabung Haji citizen need to be very, very clear. You are the torchlight of Islam. You need to be very clear and nothing to be afraid. You need to shine bright if you want your organization and Islamic values to shine bright. You tak boleh jadi itu bug yang what dia kurang tau. You need to be bright. So for you to be bright, you need to know what is it that I'm doing that is right. So it's not about pointing people's wrong, right? But it is really telling people, you know, when you don't carry your responsibility, I am not carrying out my responsibility. And I am committed to 2,000 employees and their families and the 9 billion depositors. That's the person you're responsible to now. You're not responsible to the individual, you're responsible to the 9 billion people. You're responsible to the 2,000 employees who are working hard. Right? Can you see that? Now, if you know, one of the concepts and really, really good, I mean, think about it, right? For the non-Muslims, right? You realize when, I don't know whether you go into non-Muslim conversation, we memang tak faham kenapa you orang ni so fussy about food, betul tak? Kenapa mesti ada shop halal, betul tak? Correct. I mean, let you can tell me, right? Now, so the thing is this, right? Why? Because they don't understand how important it is at an external food level that we take in, we want it to be clean. Right? Now think about it. We buy this food with our money we earn. Right? It's going into, if you're so particular externally, internally, don't we all need to be clear about it? That concept alone is enough to anchor us in tabung haji to fly high. You don't need any other concepts, right? So you have very powerful values, very clear life values, right? And I mean, think about, we just celebrated Raya, right? If you think about the 30 days that you fast, how much of discipline it takes for you to fulfill your fast. I've tried fasting. I know how difficult it is. But you do it year in, year out, right? So what is it that we don't have that you can't fulfill your responsibilities? You want help? We can help. So I think what HR should do when you have issues like this, first, the problem with organizations that is very heart-centered, very loving and caring. I think your problem is the loving and caring. Right? Now, why? We think loving and caring means saying yes. Loving and caring means we kesian dekat dia to a point bila dia tak tahu melakukan kerja dia, kita rasa kesian. Tak ada. Kalau you nak tolong orang, you kena tolong dia mempertingkatkan nilai kualiti kerja dia. Sebab bila you tolong dia meningkatkan nilai kualiti kerja dia, anda akan meningkatkan dia punya self-esteem, kepercayaan diri. Right? And I always believe this, right? If you see someone who is very good, all glory goes to who? To the Creator. You live a good life, people will praise your Creator. You lead a bad life, you're not going to bring praise to your Creator. Would you agree with me on that? So, when you see a Muslim who works well, right? What are you doing? You're praising your Creator. When we don't live well, we are not being good citizens of our Creator. Right? So, if you see that concept, just that concept, our job is actually to help people to be at their best. Because we are all sent on earth, we are the hands and legs of God's work, right? Right. We are just the, apa kita panggil, the instrument of God. Kita merelakan penggunaan diri kita, apa-apa skill yang kita ada, all our talents is a gift. And you need to use the gift for the right purpose. So if you don't use a gift, is that right? Kalau you boleh lakukan kerja tapi tak lakukan kerja, is that right? You boleh belajar tapi tak nak belajar, is that right? It's not. Right? So I think the question is simple, the answer is simple, but you need to be courageous. I think the problem with people who are religious, and I see this among Muslims, you guys are very nice people. I don't know whether you know that. Such beautiful people because of your values, right? Loving, kind, very forgiving. Good. Tapi don't let that get into the way. Because that is the power of being a Muslim. But don't let other people slack. Biarkanlah. Dia tak buat kerja, alah dia ada 3 orang anak, nanti kita tak confirm, tak baik tau. Periuk nasi dia, rezeki dia, hello, bila you jadi Tuhan? Kalau you nak tolong dia, you extend dia punya probation, tolong dia buat kerja, make sure dia tahu jalankan kerja dengan baik, baru kita jalankan ibadah dengan betul. Bukan kita confirm orang yang tak boleh buat kerja. Lagi you are helping someone to earn a living that is not halal. And that's your responsibility as a leader. You nampak tak? If my child tells me, Mommy, I copied and I got 100 marks and I celebrate my child, I am the one who is wrong, not my child. Right? When my child says I got 100 and I copied, I'm going to tell my child, if your best is 50, let's celebrate it because I want to be proud of you. But celebrate 50, let mommy help you how to get to the 60 to 70. Mengambil masa tak apa, kita berusaha bersama. That should be the spirit of HR. So I'm not saying go for punishment. Tapi if you want to talk about humankind, how do you begin? You kerja, kita sama-sama lah collaborate. Kita tolong lah. Right? That's the spirit, isn't it? The spirit of the Ummah, right? You help me, I help you, we help come together. Right? It's not getting away with difficult choices. Okay? I hope I'm clear in what I'm saying, right? Yes, any other question? I don't know, just now the person who asked me, okay, I'm trying to get your name. Renaya, is it? I can't see your name on screen. I want to tell you the one with the grey tudung. You put up your hand, I say whether it's you. Daddy, you asked me a few questions on alignment of values and all that. Oh my gosh. Okay, never mind. I'll try and read your name. Yes, that's you. I wanted to thank you for your question and for all the smiles you're giving me because I can't see your name. Okay. All right, any other question? Any other question? Okay, no other question? Are we all good? I will send the slide through to Ryan after this so that you can have an access to the slide, all right? And if you have any other question, I do know you can contact me. My email is with Ryan. I can't put it in here. And I want to really, really thank you for, paying attention, giving me permission to speak as the way I spoke, very surely. And yeah, thank you very much. And yes, I will pass it back to Ryan. Ryan, are you here? Ryan is not here, is it?
No. Ryan.
Hello. All right.
Pergi toilet.
Pergi toilet. Okay. Kalau bukan Ryan, who do I pass it to? All right, is there anything maybe what we'll do is we'll just do a quick closure. If there was one takeaway for you, if you can quickly give feedback as to what's your one takeaway from this conversation while waiting for Ryan to come back from the toilet in the next 5 minutes. Otherwise, we'll just close it. Is there any one takeaway that you're willing to share? Lapar ke malu? I'm just going to call names, yeah? Who's on hold? I'm not sure who's on hold. Maizatul, are you here? Maya there, Maizatul.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, if there was one takeaway that you're willing to share, what would that be?
Nothing.
So the 2.5 hours, there was nothing for you.
No, I think it's very very informative to know about the human resource lah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Some people are leaving, that means they're stressed. Is there anyone else who wants to share? I will leave it to you so that I don't put you under stress. No? Okay. Ryan, are you here yet? No, Ryan is not here.
Okay, saya dapat makluman yang Cik Ryan dia ada interview.
Okay. Sebab tu dia dah keluar. All right. How do you all do the closing? Do you do anything for closing, or I just go out?
Okay, then I think I do the closing for this session. Mala, thank you very much for spending your time with us. We appreciate that very much. Terima kasih. Salah satu yang saya belajar ialah the 7 switches. I appreciate that very much because then I can really understand myself and perhaps juga bila saya menguruskan anak-anak buah saya, the people that I deal with, saya boleh have a very good understanding. My switches dengan dia punya switches will not be the same. So how to align that? Yeah, and then I think at the same time juga saya boleh question myself. I think my switch is this. Saya rasa switch saya adalah autonomy. Saya tak nak to be governed by anything. But I don't want to work, but I need the money. So how do I manage that? Okay, I tak nak bangun pagi, I tak nak pergi kerja, tak nak masuk meeting, but I want the money. So how do I manage that kan? Sometimes apa yang kita nak dengan apa yang kita perlu tak sama. Right. So we have to spend a lot of time nak fikir tentang perkara itu, dan saya really appreciate that 7 switches. I understand that very well, but I think mungkin we need to learn more from you. InsyaAllah. With that, again, it has been a good journey, a learning journey. Saya harap semua anggota warga kerja Human Capital dapat belajar. Kalau daripada, I think Mala share dengan kita banyak tu. Not 10, but I think maybe more than dekat 50 apa yang dia ajar dekat kita. Cuma kalau kita boleh ambil satu saja, paling-paling common pun, you tahu, oh, switch saya yang mana satu lah. At least one takeaway from this session, saya nak ialah masing-masing kata, oh, switch saya yang ini agaknya. Kalau tak tahu, tanya orang sebelah. Sometimes kita ingat kita ni, but the best person to maybe give feedback to us adalah orang sebelah kita atau bos kita. Ya, kadang-kadang kita ingat kita well-being, tapi sebenarnya we are not. Actually not well-being, kita lebih pada recognition. Oh, kalau saya jaga badan saya cantik, people akan, cantiknya you, saya maybe recognition kita nak, bukan sebab well-being. So so activity lepas ni adalah tanya orang sebelah, switch saya apa lah. Okay, that will be give you a very good feedback about what is your switch. Okay, then thank you again, Mala. Thank you very much.
Rahayu. Thanks a lot, guys. All the best. And
okay,
Mala.
Sekejap Mala. Kita nak adakan sesi bergambar sekejap, boleh?
Okay, boleh.
Sekejap Mujahid. One last thing, Mala. In Islam, when people give us knowledge, bila orang ajar kami, we always say halalkan ya ilmu tu.
Oh.
So I am asking on behalf of myself and on behalf of everybody, human capital, that halalkan whatever that you gave us. Hopefully that ilmu will be something beneficial to all of us.
Oh my God.
And if it's nice enough, Allah will reward you for that.
Thank you very much.
Because one of the most important, one of the 3 things that bring us when we already pass away is ilmu that you share with others and others use it.
Wow.
And you know what? Selagi everybody dalam human capital ni use that knowledge continuously, dia ajar what you ajar, you will continually get the pahala. That's the belief of Islam. So again, thank you very much and halalkan all the ilmu that you give us.
So I don't know whether it's right for me to say saya halalkan, but thank you so much. All right, thank you very much. Yes, Mujahid.
Okay, saya minta semua peserta untuk on camera sebab kita akan buat sesi bergambar lah. Okay, semua dah ready? Okay, 1, 2, 3, senyum. Okay, sekali lagi, satu lagi. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
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 Thank you, Mala.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Stay safe, stay at home.
Stay safe, and Sharul, take care.
Thank you, Mala.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Okay, goodbye.
Take your vaccine. Okay.
Of course.
We have other session ke after this?
Okay, yang untuk session kedua, kita memang wajibkan kepada tim Puan Cik Fazila Bano. Jadi siapa yang nak join boleh join, tapi kita wajibkan kepada tim Cik Fazila Bano je lah.
Sesi kedua ni adalah berkenaan performance management system.
Ya,
Kepada warga-warga human capital yang rasa ingin belajar tentang apa itu performance management system, this is a good opportunity untuk belajar. Jadi saya welcome siapa yang tak involved in performance management pun, kalau you an HR person, a human capital person, you don't have the knowledge, this would be a good session for you all to explore untuk dapatkan apakah dia itu performance management system, kenapa dia perlu di dalam organisasi. Okay?